All right. Well, welcome to session 7, everyone. We're going to be learning a lot about academic learning today. So before we get into everything we're going to cover today, I just wanted to follow up with everyone on how you followed through on your well-designed action from last week. So, who would like to share first?
I'll go first. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing well. What about you?
I'm well. The well-designed action actually went pretty well for me. I went to the gym the one time that I had set myself up for. I contacted Nalima, and I had some extra support with my brother because he also actually wanted to go to the gym as well, so we kind of partnered up and went together. So that was really good. And then Nalima also, we kind of supported one another through email, so that was good. I was happy about that.
Awesome. Do you feel better this week than you did last week?
You know what, I do. I know that like that one time, although it was only one time, I felt the surge, like the difference in energy and just my overall it's happiness, I suppose. And so I'm just hoping that this coming week I'll be able to do it a couple more times, at least like twice. That's my goal.
Oh, very cool. So you seem like you're kind of pumped up about it.
I am. It's nice to have a partner. Honestly, it makes it a lot easier.
Right. No, you're not alone. I definitely agree. Like, it's kind of nice just knowing someone's there doing the same thing with you.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. All right. Well, Nilima, since I know you guys were accountability partners, do you want to share about how your well-designed action?
Yeah, the same like Khadija said. She really motivated me to, and I went for after like maybe 3 years for a long walk, like 1 hour walk, and I was dead by the end of the day. That 1 hour walk, even though it was just walking, I was like all pumped up, and I did 1 hour walk, and it felt really good. That it felt a lot like I achieved something, even though it was just one time, and I wanted to make it at least 2 times. But I'm just happy that I did it 1 time, and it keeps my ball rolling. So this week again, we will plan, and it's so nice to, like Khadija said, to have a partner. And it's not just about the exercise or my goal. It's just also emotionally so nice to say, oh, Khadija, my friend, she's emailed me. So it's so cute, and it's just so nice to have that interaction. Apart from goal setting, it just feels so nice, and just the more we do, the more it feels like very nice, comfortable environment here. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So you feel encouraged and kind of pumped up as well.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So it must have been well designed for both of you.
Yeah, I almost went this morning to at least let me sign up for the gym, and I can tell, hey, I signed up for the gym, but it's so cold here in Manhattan today. Like, oh my God, it's like very, very cold. Yeah. So I gave up. I said, oh, no, I can't go. I'll get sick. Like just the winds and everything. It's like, it was too much today. Yeah.
But you had the intention and you wanted.
Yeah, I had the intention of telling, I signed up for the gym. So probably next week I might say that.
Oh, that'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
All right. Andrea, how about you? How was your well-designed action?
Well, I wasn't in class last week, so I guess I was kind of following through on an action, actually, Hannah, that I had kind of committed to you with what I'm doing with yoga. So I recently got certified, and I I signed a contract with a building, so that was a really big commitment, which I think I told you about.
Yeah.
So then since then, I created a flyer and put it all around the city, and then I designed a website, which I've never done before, so that was really fun. And then I'm not really good at self-promotion, but I just went out there on social media and just attached my flyer and when my classes are being offered. And I mean, that was a really big action step for me because I don't like to use social media for self-promotion. So I did quite a few things over the last week and a half, 2 weeks to get myself going with these yoga classes. So it's really good. It's very energizing.
Yeah. Well, I know you were a little hesitant at first, but how does it feel now that you've gotten the ball rolling?
It feels good, but classes, I don't start until February. So we'll see, if people come. That'll be the next. But I'm just looking at it as practice. Like, I have to start somewhere. So even if 2 people come, that's starting somewhere. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's so exciting. Yeah, keep us updated.
I will, for sure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Needy, what about you? How did your well-designed action go?
Hey, yeah, I think having a partner and holding each other accountable does work to a certain extent. And well, again, as Nilima and Khadija plan on exercising, so Lori and myself, we also, our areas that stood out were health and organization, room. So yeah, I did manage to keep my kitchen clean most of the time and my house organized, and I'm feeling good right now because I'm sitting here and my house is all clean and nice. So it does, if you have someone to hold you accountable, you do feel that pressure and you are galvanized into action. So I was in action mode and I got most of the things accomplished as I had planned. But yeah, I think the frequency needs to go up. So if it can become on a daily basis, that would be awesome. But right now, I think I did accomplish at least 3 out of the 7 days. So.
Awesome. So would you say that your action was well designed, kind of looking back on the week?
I think the motivation was there. So yeah, that kind of put the action into, implementation mode. So yeah. That got me in action mode to implement my plan.
Well, cool. Thanks for sharing. All right. What about you, Paul?
Hey, yeah. I wasn't here last week, but I picked up an email on Thursday morning, not even reviewing the night prior, and a well-designed possibility showed up to go ahead and start life coaching some kid in New York. I don't know if anyone here got the same email about some kid interested in a gap year and SAT, ACT scores and college apps, but I thought, that sounds like stuff I do. So I went ahead and asked, Amber to send my name along, and I got the gig. And so that's neat to start designing that. I called him for 30 minutes on Sunday. This cool kid going to LaGuardia High School, the school that's reputed for fame. And neat kid, neat conversations leading to some ideas about what we'll do. And we'll start next Sunday. I mailed him a book and kind of looking at designing that hour with him by looking at a lot of things. It's kind of exciting to, dream it, visualize it, kind of rehearse what it's going to sound like to go through it step by step. And yet, I don't think you can really completely prepare. You also just sort of have to let it be and get into it. So I'm excited about this. As far as being completely well designed, well, I have a few more days. So we'll keep planning it. Yeah, sounds like a neat. I think I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I'll let you
Ready
know.
to jump in. So that's cool. It's going to be such great practice for you.
Yeah.
Oh, very
Okay.
cool. Thanks for sharing, Paul. All right. Nick, what about you?
What was the initial question? I kind of blinked a little bit.
No worries. Yeah, it's just following up on your well-designed action. So how did you follow through?
Sure. I don't want to get like into major specifics right now, but we really talked. I think you and I, when we were in the breakout room last week, we talked about a lot of things. But we talked about, I think when we were designing this, I think we talked about sort of just me reflecting on my job and what I do and how I do it. And I think we talked about a couple of things I could do. And I think this has turned into a very unexpectedly fruitful week to do that. So in general, I'll say that, yeah, it was a really good opportunity to design that action step with you, and then to kind of find some ways this week that I could sort of follow through on it.
Yeah, so cool. So how's your, I mean, you guys see if you don't want to share specifics, but just like how's your overall kind of feel of work taking some action this week?
My audio is sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, you froze for a second. Try. You want to try again? I don't know why it was.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, because I guess it was a breakdown on my side, and you kind of, it started freezing as you were speaking. So what did you say before we had that issue?
I think this is how you felt about work this week.
Oh,
taking some action. Better. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks for sharing, Nick.
Absolutely.
All right. How about you, Stuart?
I worked with Emily, and we didn't quite get to a well-designed action, but I have been, one of my big actions that I wanted to take starting the new teaching job was to do an academic life coaching program with the students. It's like a very small school. It's a resource center for homeschooling students. And so I've already seen like 3 or 4 students, and it's gone really well. So that's been really exciting too, even though, you know, when I'm doing it all for the first time, so I'm sort of unsure, but I can tell it's helping, especially one student who I think a lot of people, I think it's been tough to get through to her, and so this was a something that really helped her. So that's some exciting news for me.
Very cool. So you're kind of in the same boat as Paul, is kind of just using what you're learning and applying.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Great. Well, thanks for sharing, guys. And yeah, coming off of like, you know, we did the like whole learn, be, do. You know, so clients learning and being in action. And now we're getting into academic learning. So also just learning and thinking styles. It's kind of under the umbrella of that. So for today, I thought it'd be interesting just because there's several recordings to listen to, and plus the reading in the workbook and the book. So I'm really curious, you know, several of you, you know, already work with students, just kind of what you took away from what you read and heard and what your understanding is so far of this area.
Hannah?
Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily have done this academic like I haven't been an academic coach. I've been a tutor.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I currently tutor my nephews and my niece. And I did notice in terms of like how I have to be very careful with each of them, because one is more visual, one is just more like auditory, like I just have to keep saying it to them. So, or like repeating certain words in order for them to like remember the concept or whatever it is that we're studying. So I think when like studying this chapter, it just made me realize how important it is to really pick up on what type of learning style the student has, and then to really be able to like implement that and work with them.
Right. So what did you think about the learning style quiz? Do you think that would work with?
I think so. I don't think it's like, yeah, I mean, it would work. Like, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, like, if it will, like, work for all students.
Yeah, I think it's a great starting place, but it's great to get more clarity by coaching and just kind of digging in.
Yeah.
But it gives you a good footing. Plus, like, working with them for a longer amount of time, I think, too, can help in determining that.
Yes, absolutely.
Did everyone take the quiz or just know right away what learning or what learning style you were?
I took the quiz, and I guess like a question that has emerged for me when I look at thinking styles in particular, I still haven't landed on like my thinking style. So, I mean, I've read these 3 paragraphs, like the what thinker, the why thinker, and the how thinker several times. I can't place myself. And so the question that emerges for me is, and I did this with my 15-year-old, you know, how easy is this for kids, for teenagers to do? He had a very difficult time, more difficult than the Wheel of Life and core motivation. So I think it's really valuable. It seems more difficult to me. And then when I did the quiz, my numbers were it was kind of all over the board. I emerged as audio, but not strongly. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I think. I just think it's a little harder than the other things that we've done so far in the course.
Right. Let me ask you this. Did you sit down with him and just like give him a paper, or did you ask questions?
Well, we read the 3 paragraphs and then kind of talked about what each of them meant, and then tried to talk through, like, when you're in history class, you know, or when you write an English paper. I don't know, maybe because he's just a freshman. I don't know. It was harder for him.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that. But at the same time, I think too, like, if there's too much buildup, like, I mean, I don't know. I think it probably depends on the kid too. And like having them be in a learning situation where they're actually there. Like, it sounds like you did a little bit situational. Where I've had it like where someone's like in a class and we talk about this, it's so much more applicable and makes more sense than like being outside of it. So I think, you know,
Right.
That was good that you like brought up the history class, but if you change situations, it's kind of hard, I think, for kids to figure it out. But, you know, sometimes even not putting a situation to it, just being like, when do you know something's right? You know,
Yeah.
and just putting it there. Because if you add too much to it, then it's like, then they're thinking about the class, and that could, so I've seen it both ways. There's also, you know, I've seen where you just put it into like an actual quiz. You can make like an online quiz yourself. And kids sometimes seem to respond better than like being asked questions or like it on paper. It's just they engage with it differently and it's just less intimidating.
Yeah.
And sometimes you take some digging, and honestly, some kids are combinations, like, or certain subjects they learn better in others, and other ones they, you know, don't learn as well. Sometimes it could be that they're a combination of different types. So I guess it really depends on the kid, but I would play with the situation and how you present the quiz. For sure. And then, just being like, hey, it doesn't matter which one you are. They're all great, learning in general. Because I think, I don't know, at least one of my experience, I felt like kids think that there's a certain like right or wrong answer and they don't want to they want to impress you. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but in my past 4 years of being an academic life coach with hundreds of students, I've definitely seen that where it's like, they're caring about what I think or what my opinion of them will be if they say this answer. And so, Andrea, that might be what your case with your son. Like, he's like, well, what does my mom want me to be? So that's kind of a thought. But overall, I think this quiz can give you a really good basis, and then adding coaching in can be even more powerful because you can help them gain awareness of where they're at or why they answer something that way, or why they have conflict about two different things. What are your thoughts, Paul? You unmuted.
I've had 25 years with high school kids, and they get overwhelmed by a number of different teaching styles, by a number of different teachers, and have to respond differently all the time. And these questions, of course, do confuse them because, yes, they do have to represent their knowledge about something in one way in one class and another in another. And I think maybe a more important takeaway is the fact that we are all complex like this, and maybe we do have that one inclination, and maybe a teacher has an entirely different inclination, and how are we going to bridge that gap in that class? Maybe that's a part of the variables, besides just the relationship with that teacher or the amount of homework or anything else, to what amount of learning goes on in there is can be so microscopically defined that this kiddo is really being visual and in that seat. There's so many other things that are going on for that. This doesn't kind of go into social kinds of factors that go into is that room really collaborative, or is it lecture oriented, or is it the kids get to do labs, or other kinds of kind of pedagogy. So I'm sort of blowing it way out, but even the wow stuff, wow, that's funny. And and what if, it's like, it's really important to talk about this stuff, and it's really important for them to really start, I like the idea of asking them, well, how, and that's what John sampled in that demo. How do you think this teacher teaches? What's some evidence that they're getting? Does that relate to you? Do you get through? Does that get through to you? And those kinds of things, and not to be so narrow about which, because it's an overlap.
Right, and it's definitely more to get an idea of where they're at, and then the coaching can take off. Noticing the situation, well, what happens when you're in a classroom, or with this certain type of teacher, or you have to get the whole big picture. And you're totally right. I think it's just more of a starting place. I've had multiple students where one way they're one learning style, and another subject they're totally a different one, and they need that. Someone, for example, is very kinesthetic for math, they need to be touching it with their hands and working through it, whereas for history they have to watch something to really learn it. Reading the book doesn't work. It really depends, but I think helping them have an awareness overall of how they're learning in different situations, even if they're not this is my learning style, but as they know themselves better, they'll know this is where this works for me. And it's all about helping them gain awareness and be successful where they're at, and even in multiple situations. Paul, did you have thoughts on thinking styles too?
Yeah, I think my thoughts are pretty similar on those. it's a switchboard, or it's kind of like, I like thinking of the brain as what do I need to amp up while I'm learning to absorb as much of the knowledge coming in, or while I'm studying, what can I predict might be on that test by another thinking style I'm not using. It's kind of, you're jockeying for position all the time, right?
Right, exactly. It's not gonna be like, this is the way I am all the time. So yeah, I agree. But I really think that these are so helpful to just get a basis and just kind of get an idea where a student's at, and helping them gain awareness of how they think and how they learn. Because if a student understands themselves better, then they're gonna be able to apply that and just be able to be more successful. Just like any of us, like the more we know about what works for us, the more we can operate in that area. So let's see, raise your hand if everyone kind of did the learning and thinking styles, so they kind of went through the exercises as if they were a client. Neelima, did you get a chance to do the exercises?
I didn't do the quiz, but I went through the learning style and the different thinking style. I read the book and watched the videos, but I didn't do the quiz.
Okay. All right. So you'll want to do that before we switch to coaching today, because you're going to be coached on that. So yeah, Nick.
I was gonna make a comment. So in a former professional capacity, I taught like a freshman success seminar for first year college students, and one of the units we would teach, it was very similar to this. So I've seen this and I've taught this numerous times before, and almost every time we did it, it would always amaze me, because we would start with students who thought that it wasn't, like, they didn't really think anything, I didn't really think that it applied to them, and by the time class was over that day, they had come to see that it was useful. So at least with the students I've worked with, a lot of times they come to the idea of learning styles as, I know how to do what I know, like they already think they know how to do these things. But a lot of times when I would show them other ways of doing it, they would sometimes realize that sometimes they've been doing it in the wrong way. And so I think I'm just sharing that to kind of give an example of, sometimes students are resistant to it, but in my experience, it's been very helpful to almost all students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. And that's cool that you kind of have a background in that. What do you think about applying that in the context of academic life coaching? How do you see that being useful?
I think it's the same concept. I think you're going to have clients who are resistant to using it. I think you're going to have clients. I'm going to have students who, if I bring this up, they're not going to be open at first to considering that they might have a different learning style, or that they might have a different, two learning styles. There might be another learning style that complements what they already do. And so I think it's just information about how to kind of work through that reticence to even think about how they learn.
Yeah. Nick, do you know your learning style and thinking style?
So I am like right on the border between visual and audio, which kind of blows my mind. Because if you were to just ask me, my knee-jerk reaction would be visual. But when I take quizzes and when I really kind of think about it, it's probably true. It's kind of a split between both of them.
Mm-hmm. What about your thinking style?
I didn't get to look over the thinking style as much. I'm honestly not as on top of it this week as I probably would be. But yeah, one of the reasons I got to learning styles because I had seen it before. Where's the thinking styles?
It's on page 110. So what thinkers, why thinkers, and how thinkers.
Okay.
Cool. Does anyone know both types of themselves, like, or have a good kind of idea?
Yeah, I think I'm a what thinker and a visual kinesthetic learner.
Okay, so you're kind of a combo, and then you're a what thinker?
A what thinker, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Stuart, would you mind being my demo client for a couple minutes here?
Sure.
Sorry, I roped you into that one.
It's a trick.
It's a trick. Well, I'm really curious because I mean, you're coming from the perspective of an educator. What was it like for you to just kind of figure out your thinking and learning style?
So my learning style, I feel like I've known for a long time. I think about it, rather than thinking of myself as an audio and kinesthetic learner, a visual and kinesthetic learner, I think of myself as not an auditory learner. That just like that information just doesn't stay in my head. Yeah, so that was the biggest thing. And then I'm trying to think I'm just reviewing the what was your original question? I'm sorry.
So your learning style and your thinking style. So what was the process like for you?
The process of determining them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've known that one for a long time, and then I just looked over the what thinkers, why thinkers, and how thinkers, and I think like just detail. I'm really into detail. I notice those things. I think I like math a lot. That could be why. And so that one stuck out the most. I think I'm a why thinker as well, but.
What do you think the connection is between the way you think and the way that you learn?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah. I'm not sure. I like to write things down. I think that's a kinesthetic learner thing. And so, gosh, that's a really good question. I have not thought about that very much. The connection between the way that I think and the way that I learn. I have to give that more thought, I guess. I think of something I've learned recently. Right now, I'm learning. I'm renovating the inside of a house, so I think the detail-oriented side of me, that thinking is really helpful. And it's and then I've taken a very I don't know. I've taken a very learn by doing approach and just figuring out, well, even though I want to not make mistakes, like I like to get every detail right, and I don't want the trim to look bad when I put it together. It's just like, well, I've just realized like, you just have to do it wrong once, and then that's how you learn how to do it right.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like the doing it is really important, but not like super perfect detail.
I'm sorry?
So you're saying that it's more important to do it than do something like perfectly, like really, I mean, you want it to look good.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm learning something, it's like a good reminder that like whenever you do things for the first time, and I think with the academic life coaching with my students, it's like I'm not going to be that great at explaining this, or having, not going to do it the best. I have to actually. It's like there's no substitute for experience. It's, I think, something that I'm sort of have to relearn, because I wish I could just know every detail and then just do something. But it's like all of the things that you need to do, their relative importance only becomes clear once you do something, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why I should do this, and this is faster than this, or in the case of renovating, or in the case of the life coaching, like oh, if you say this in this way, the student is not going to respond as well. You just have to do it.
So it sounds like you obviously think about things, and you kind of see the what and the why, really they stand out to you, but the kinesthetic, like the doing things, is where you feel like you really learn, just getting out there and doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. You said you've known your learning style for a while. What has like the impact been on your life? Just knowing that about yourself.
I mean, for as far as being in academic classes, I think if I had to study for a test, I would rewrite my notes. I think I did that before I knew what my learning style was, and I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, that I'm more visual, or maybe that's kinesthetic.
Or both.
I just have to go with the flow of I have to go with the flow of classes where it's all spoken. Like if I have a choice, like I'll skip a lecture and just read the book. So I definitely know that like I'll zone out and I won't be able to absorb that information. So if I'm allowed to, I'll like just skip it and find another way to get the information. So definitely avoiding the auditory or even things like with video now, there's so much, like I'll watch the video at double speed and then pause it and rewind, because I know my memory, and sort of my mind is all over the place when I'm trying to learn things by listening.
So it sounds like you've gained a lot of awareness about yourself and what works for you, and in different situations, what you should do and what you can do.
I think so. Yeah.
Very cool. So it sounds like overall, you have a good awareness about yourself and kind of just how you think, how you learn. Is there anything right now that you feel like you're not doing your best job at?
In terms of learning, or
just in terms of anything? I mean, this would kind of be a question you'd ask a student, and they might bring up a subject, but.
Oh, doing your best. I'm not doing my best at. Yeah, I'm not doing my best at being a math teacher right now. I just started, and I have this pre-algebra class, and we have students that are between ages like 11 and 15, and everybody's at a different place. And I'm coming in at the beginning of the year. In the middle of the year, and the students are frustrated. I got frustrated. So yeah, that's not going well.
What could you take from how you learn and how you think and apply it to that situation?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've been trying to do is just to be aware that luckily these classes are super small. So be aware that everybody thinks differently, and learns differently. And actually the approach that I've decided to take is starting tomorrow just to have have sort of a unique plan for each student versus trying to get everybody in the class to, because some of them are all caught up. So yeah, just I think meeting individually with the students, I have that luxury because the classes are so small, and just saying like, okay, what's going to work for you? Okay, do that. Let's check in. We'll go over your test together, and with this person, like, okay, we'll work problems together and whatever.
That's really cool. So it sounds like you're taking into account their learning and thinking styles as part of your teaching style.
Yeah, I try to do that.
So what do you hope will happen as you kind of take that unique approach tomorrow?
I don't have big hopes for tomorrow, but in general, I'm hoping that there's less stress and more just like a positive learning environment is like the number one thing that I want to try to get at. So that's what I'm hoping for. Actually, that would be a big success tomorrow, is just to have like an environment where everybody is feeling comfortable and like, doing something productive.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel comfortable?
I haven't. I've been sort of juggling. No, I don't.
Okay. So how will go ahead.
No, go ahead.
How will taking this action, like looking at trying to meet with each student individually, run the class to meet each of their individual needs, how will that impact your comfortability in the class?
Well, I think the reason that I'm uncomfortable is I feel like I'm not doing the job that I want to do, and that the class isn't going. So I think that my level of comfort will increase as the students does, and as the students feel like, as the class feels productive, like, that's why it's been like I've been going over it in my mind a lot. It's like, okay. So that level, I think as the students are being more productive, then I'll feel more comfortable.
So as they feel more productive, you'll feel more productive.
That's true. Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Stuart, and I hope those things go well for you.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Awesome. I have to keep us updated. And did everything work out with your house, by the way? Like you said that there was.
Yeah.
Take it back or something.
Yeah, we have it purchased, and the neighbors who were suing the people who used to live there, they went, like, as soon as I think they realized the deal is done, they put up these no trespassing signs around our house, like on their property. But I think that's a sign that they're not going to sue us. They're going to be like, well, you got it, and just stay out of our way. So yeah. Well, but we're renovating, and yeah, it's coming along. Hope to move in the next week or two.
Oh, very cool. That's exciting.
Thanks.
Well, I'll have to come over when it's done.
Yeah, come on. We got we have shiitake mushrooms that are in the root cellar right now, growing. So have like 5 to 10 pounds a week.
Wow, that's crazy. Very cool. Well, thanks, Stuart, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing and with that. All right. So, guys, that was just a little example of kind of digging in with learning styles and like maybe looking at a specific search situation or like a project and kind of diving in and applying learning and thinking styles and kind of, taking a step back and just kind of getting into just pure coaching. So as you go into your individual sessions, it's going to look like that, just like very straightforward, like what is your learning and thinking style? Or helping them figure it out, kind of giving that guidance. And then just get curious, explore, how they use them in their life, what the impact is, maybe the connection. There's a lot there, like what's the impact of, knowing your learning and thinking style, or You know, how difficult was it for you, or you know, what was the process like, or just what do you think about thinking styles in general, and or how could you use these in your life? Those kinds of questions, just to get curious about and just build on. You can ask, like, what would the perfect hour look like for you? And you can see a lot about a person and like the best way they operate by like, oh, if things were just like this, I'd be so happy. And usually, you know, if they're stuck, that can be a great way for them just to talk. And you could see like, oh, you know, they were listening to a podcast, and then, you know, like they might say certain things that will help pull out even more their learning and thinking styles. And then after you do that, just kind of establish what their learning and thinking styles are. Then just get curious and kind of poke a little bit and explore. And then really just like no workbook, don't look at it, and just pure coaching and just kind of see where the client leads. So no really specific agenda, just kind of, you know, building on, you know, those curious questions and see where the client goes and just dive in. And then ideally, you want to finish with a well-designed action. It's great too if you can help your client come up with maybe a metaphor for themselves, like their learning and thinking style. For like, you know, example, like someone might say like, you know, you're like a train on one track and a mission to, you know, get to where you want to go. Or you're a hot air balloon and you go this way and that way depending on the wind, you know. Something like that would be helpful to kind of help them get a picture, and even helping kind of solicit that from your client. Like, if you had a picture of your learning style, what immediately comes to mind? Like giving them something more tangible too. And so the goal, you know, explore, but do some pure coaching, and then kind of wrap up with a well-designed action again. Or, you know, depending on what they want, just, you know, the well-designed action can be just like to operate more in your learning or thinking style. That could just be something very broad, or play with it this week, you know, if they can't think of anything. Does anyone have questions, thoughts? Does it all make sense? Okay. All right. Well, we get to do, let's see. We did a half hour. Well, probably before we go, or we could talk about it more when we get back, is everyone clear just on all the learning styles, as well as the thinking styles? Or does anyone have any questions about those, just so we can make sure we all have the same understanding? You guys are quiet tonight. I guess I had to pick on someone. Needy, do you understand both of the thinking styles and the learning styles?
Yeah, I have been able to identify myself with the Y thinking style, and I took the quiz. I thought I was a kinesthetic learner, but I am more of my scores are high on audio. So yeah, it'll be good to talk to my partner and see in the individual discussion what more we can surface by our discussions. And yeah.
Very cool. Thanks, Needy. All right. Well, are you guys ready to go, Coach? Is that really why you're not answering me? Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. Well, P, since you're already talking, do you want to share your takeaway? I know you only got half a class away from tonight.
Okay, my takeaway, make sure you're on time for class because you'll miss out some really key nuggets, guys. No, my takeaway would be, I think it's important when we're doing these lessons that something that I noticed tonight is I'm always thinking when I'm looking at the notes and looking at our classes of how to to life coach someone else. But sometimes the best way to actually do it is to be your own life coach. So maybe you won't have the luxury of sitting in front of, a person, but sit in front of the mirror and ask yourself the questions and answer them. You may look crazy, so lock the door and don't let anyone see you do it. But I think sometimes if you actually ask yourself those questions and answer those questions as honest, you can only be really completely honest and naked with yourself. So if you can do that, I think you'll actually find a lot of answers that are going to help your self-development, but more importantly, you'll know how effective you really are as a life coach, because you'll be able to know what you're uncovering in yourself. If it results in you being depressed and hating your life, then we're all here for you next Wednesday, and we can kind of help you through that. But yeah, that's what my takeaway would be, which I realized through speaking to you. So thank you very much, Hannah. And sorry I crashed your session, Needy.
No, it was awesome. Needy, what did you think? What was your takeaway from tonight?
She's crazy.
It was nice to have
I'm not crazy.
definitely. My takeaway was, I think, just as you said, not be hard on yourself and just throw your questions, trust the process, and let the client take from that point on. And it will, the conversation will take its course, and, it will. So just trust the process and not worry about whether you're asking the right question or not. So.
Yeah. Trust yourself and the process.
And the process, yes.
So everyone else, what happened was that Needy and I stayed in the main session because it wouldn't put her to breakout room with me. And so Peace came, and so Needy finished coaching me, and then I got to coach Peace. So we had a little party, coaching party. So it was a lot of fun. Peace, I think you did coach yourself, but I think it's a job of when you're doing it right, the coach should do less work, and it's more like the client finds their own answers. That's just kind of, that just shows the client's awareness. And so that was cool to see, Peace. Thank you for just jumping in and being all in. And Needy, thank you for coaching me. I really, I know it was just awesome to get more learning and awareness myself. That's something I wasn't even suspecting or thinking about. So that was cool. All right. So Paul, are you going to introduce us to your dog? It was attacking you.
Yeah, this is Iggy. So he's a very nice Chihuahua. So I say give Chihuahuas a chance. Should I be talking about anything else right now?
Your takeaway from tonight is give Chihuahuas a chance. No, takeaway from tonight.
Too many people don't give Chihuahuas a chance, is what I'm saying. I think my takeaway for tonight is one of them was interesting. It's interesting to talk to Nick because he's got college level kids. I have high school level kids, and they demand different things from us. Cognitively, my kids come, and they come, it's kind of an at-risk school, so they come volunteering needs from me, questions on all kinds of things, and I'm there to Mr. Fix It and look at the how-to and get them down the road on that kind of energy. Whereas Nick is there at risk at a college level, but it's more academic kind of at risk, and his realm of questions are more like why. And I think with kids who are older, maybe the why realm of question can hit more of them because they have more prefrontal lobes developed, and they can sort of get to that and find some motivation in that. Whereas my kids are so limbic system emotional crazy that they just want something clear and clean and easy to follow. Not to say that I shouldn't be really thinking about those kids who come in with higher skill sets to really get to the why for some of them to gain how much how much motivation can I pull from them based on why questions. So, and then for me, it was kind of I'm really aware that I'm a what and how thinker, and even definitely a what if thinker. And I think what and how, you kind of have a lot of what, and then I like creating. So all those what's turn into a what if sort of thing. And the how is the way to get to the what if I've got, which is all very visual and requires kinesthetic stuff. So I really kind of get that about how I operate. However, found myself into counseling where I'm listening to kids all day. I still don't know, but we talked about that too. And those are my takeaways. I think it's really pretty informative we did talk a lot too. I don't want to take it away from Nick, but how could different realms of, the what, why, how pull out different things from kids that might be needed to be listened to at different times when we meet with kids for different reasons. And that's starting to sound vague, but there's I think if we can be real clear about these kinds of questions, we can direct our conversations to pull out lots of cool stuff. So.
Hi, I'm talking while muted, apparently.
Oh. What? Did you all hear me?
We heard you. Yeah, I muted me and I was talking to you back and everyone was like looking at me. See, Peace, you're not the only one. I'm crazy.
Welcome to the club.
Oh, yep. It's a good club. Anyways, Paul, what I was saying when only I could hear me was that, yeah, you like those different questions can pull out different things, different situations. But like, for example, if someone's just a how thinker, I wouldn't just ask how questions. So it'd be really interesting to mix it up and kind of, even if you know what kind of thinker they are, see what happens when you ask a why question. I think, there's a lot that you can tie back to that. Like one of my favorite questions is like, especially if you're dealing with emotional, people, a lot of teenagers work with, come from, this is how I feel about it. But, asking like, what emotion do you associate with math or, something like that. And it's interesting when you like speak their language, what can come out of that. But thanks for sharing, Paul. So Nick, what were your takeaways, thoughts?
I think my conversation with Paul was really good at helping me sort of identify a lot of the ways I communicate with my students and how I do it, and how I could potentially do it better or differently. I think one of for me, and I mentioned this to Paul because Paul brought this up in our conversation, but we were talking about the thinking types. Is that what it's called? The thinking types? The how, the what, yeah, is that, okay. And he brought up the point of, he kind of talked about, how he approaches like a piece of art. And so we kind of had this conversation about how that can help you identify, what kind of thinking style you have, but, that could potentially also be applied to a conversation you have with a client or a student. So there's just a lot of ways to get there with a student was also one of our points. We talked about a lot of stuff, so there was a lot of takeaways.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you guys got a chance to bounce ideas off each other, and sounds like you guys kind of both learned from each other's perspectives. That's always really cool. All right. Stuart, what about you? What were your takeaways from tonight?
One of the things I'm still trying to figure out is how to combine the exercises with like coaching and it gave me a lot to think about in terms of transitioning, between trying to figure out, you know, sort of introducing an exercise that has like a clear like learning goal, and then, you know, getting to, you know, one of the reminders is just like how much I didn't have a ton of energy tonight. I was working with my body all day, so I think just a reminder of how much energy it takes to do it and to do it well, and to keep everything in your head when you're coaching someone. And yeah, those are a few things I took away.
Awesome. Stuart, thanks for coming. I know that, I mean, we've been working on like weekends, doing some stuff around our condo, hopefully getting it ready to sell. So I know how much that can take out of you. So thank you for coming to class, and
Yep.
Cool. All right. Nilima, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me today it was like I could see, like, when we are talking with clients about active learning and active style of thinking style, powerful questions and active listening is like so much connected. I felt it's like so much connected all the time, you know. When I'm dealing, you know, like, I think I'll be really good, you know, if I have my powerful questions and listening to deal with this particular aspect better. So I just found that those two just came in so connected, like, to do well with my client. I cannot forget those two, you know. I'll be much better if, you know. And Stuart did a great job. He was very tired, but, you know, he asked me like powerful question, and he's listening. I was like at point like so vague. I was not even sure what I am talking. I was like drifting from one side to the other and like coming back and going here. But I was just like so impressed that even if he was so tired, like you could see today that he is really tired, like, but it was very impressive to see. Even though it was all, you know, going on, like, he had like really good powerful questions. So that was the main takeaway for me, that, you know, even though with the clients, if you have powerful questions and active listening, that's the key thing to progress for any kind of topic. Yeah,
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Nilima.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Andrea, what did you take away from tonight?
Let's see. Khadija and I had a great conversation. My light bulb probably was that I was a little skeptical, I guess, because I wasn't like personally connecting with these two exercises. Nothing emerged really strongly for me, so I felt kind of skeptical of them. But then through our conversation, I kind of realized the power of these exercises. I had no idea if I was a what, how, or why listener or thinker. But then through our conversation, I emerged as like a very strong what thinker. And then to kind of recognize the connection between being that kind of thinker and how it can affect you positively or negatively. So for example, Khadija was saying that being a why thinker really helps motivate her in her life. If she knows why she's doing something, it motivates her to do it. For me, being a what thinker recently has been really hard, just through the political climate, just inundating myself with details and wanting to talk through details has not been, it's been hard to sift through. And so we just talked about that for a while with each other, just what's going on, and kind of that recognition of being a what thinker and how it's affecting me through everything politically that's going on right now. And so maybe just taking a break from that would be good. Maybe asking why questions or how questions instead would be good for me. So that was kind of my takeaway, is that it actually could be quite powerful, either to motivate you or to have intelligent conversations or whatever. So it was good. It a good conversation.
Oh, cool. Andrea, how are you feeling about like using this tool with your son? Because I know like you had questions about that in the beginning of class.
Yeah, I'll try again. Maybe I think I'd do better if I tried maybe with a teenager that wasn't my son. So I'm starting with a neighbor next week, so I'll try it with her. But I have a deeper understanding of it now, so I think I'll do a better job of front loading the discussion. So that was good. I'll try again.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, it sounds like, I'm glad that there's something beneficial in it for you tonight, and just know that every client, every student will be different too. So, all right. And Khadija, what did you think?
So Andrea and I had a wonderful client coaching conversation, and as she said, I'm a why thinker, and it was really nice and enlightening to hear like how a what thinker like goes through, because I'm not very like detailed and meticulous the way she is, and so it was nice to just go through some of her experiences and how a what thinker experiences things. So I enjoyed tonight. I think it's important to know what kind of thinking style you have, so that you can continue pushing yourself. At least as she mentioned, for myself, I have been really motivated to do what I need to do because of why because of the reasons I understand, and so then I just push forward. So I'm glad that was a bit of an opening for me.
Cool. So you're even more like fueled than you were.
Yes. I mean, it's nice to know these, and especially hearing Andrea and her with her son, how she experienced that. I think I'm going to try this with my nephew, because he's also in 9th grade, and so I would like to see like how he responds to this.
Yeah. Well, it'll be cool. You'll have to let us know.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for a great class, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Please let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. Just because I know, Paul, you're starting with your client, a practice client, and then Andrea too. We should probably email just to make sure you're going to use that. Let me know if you guys need anything. But I hope you have a wonderful week. It was great spending Wednesday evening with you. I will see you guys all next week.